Number 10. The Washingtons buy a studio apartment for $240,000. They pay a down payment of $60,000. Their down payment is what percent of the purchase price? And part B, what percent of the purchase price would a $12,000 down payment be? Okay, let's give you a little background information. A down payment is the amount of money that you give to the bank or the people that you are buying the house from in cash. So typically when you buy a house, most people don't have $240,000 cash sitting around in their bank account, but if they've been saving for a long time, they might have $6,000 or $60,000. So what they do is they give the person or the bank that cash, and that reduces the amount that they have to ask the bank for a loan. So this means that $240,000 the people were able to reduce that amount down to $180,000. So instead of going to the bank and asking for $240,000, they went to the bank and asked for $180,000. And the reason people do that is because they don't have to pay as much interest then. And we'll get to talking about interest later. So this question says their down payment is what percent of the purchase price? Well, the down payment is $60,000. And it says what percent, their down payment is what percent of the purchase price. So we know we're going to be looking for a percent. So we're going to have X over 100 because we don't know that. Of the purchase price comes next. When I see that word of, that means I'm going to be writing whatever comes next on the bottom of the purchase price. Well, the purchase price was what they had to pay. They had to pay $240,000. And it says the down payment is what percent of the purchase price? Well, the down payment is $60,000. So now I can figure out what percent of $240,000 $60,000 is by using my cross multiplication. And I'm going to do that in my notebook. So this is number 10. So I had X over 100 because I'm looking for the percent equals whatever my down payment is over the cost, the original cost of the house. So again, I have some numbers here that have zeros, and I can actually do some of this crossing out right now, right here. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. It's the smaller number. This time it's on top. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. So for every zero that I cross out on top, I can cross out a zero on the bottom as well. And then I'm left with simpler numbers to use. So now I'm going to use cross multiplication and take 6 times 100 is equal to the other direction. Now I only have 24 times x. When I do the multiplication, I have 600 is equal to 24x. To get my x all by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 24. 24 divided by 24 is 1. 1x. 1 times x is just x. And when I use my calculator, 600 divided by 24 is equal to 25. So now I found my x. My question said, their down payment is what percent of the purchase price? Well, I know that x is 25, and that would go above my 100, and that is how I represent percents as a fraction form. When I have 25 over 100, that's 25%. If there were 100 questions on a test and you got 25 correct, you would get a score of 25%. So that means that they made a 25% down payment on the house. So they were left with 75% to finance and make monthly payments on. Now the second part of the question, part B, what percent of the purchase price would a $12,000 down payment be? So maybe you don't have $60,000 in your savings account. Maybe you have $12,000 in your savings account. So let's see what percent of the purchase price that would be. So we're still looking for a percent. So we're going to have x over 100 is equal to, so this is my whole, this is my part. Well, the whole cost of the house was $240,000. This is my whole over here. What part was I giving them ahead of time of that $240,000? Well, I was able to give them $12,000. That's my part. So I'm going to cross out my zeros as far as I can. Oops, I ran out of zeros here, so I'm done. So now I'm going to cross multiply. X times 240 is 240x. 100 times 12 is 12 times 1 is 12, and add the 2 zeros. 240x is equal to 1,200. To get my x all by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 240. I can take a 0 off here and a 0 off here, and I'm going to divide 120 by 24. And I get 5. My question asked what percent of the purchase price would $12,000 down payment be? Well, it would be 5%. Well, that makes sense to me because $12,000 certainly is less than $60,000. So the percent should be less than what the percent was right here. So my answer for number 10B is 5%. 12,000 is 5% of 240,000.